Family histories are often like a puzzle, with a few of the pieces missing. But that doesn't have to stop a writer from creating a memorable, moving account of a loved one's life. And that's the story behind the award-winning work of historical fiction, Hands of Gold, one man's quest to find the silver lining in misfortune.
I am Roni Robbins. I'm an award-winning journalist and author now, and I've written for news publications for like 35, 36 years, including Forbes, New York Daily News, Huffington Post, more recently Medscape WebMD, and also the Atlanta Jewish Times. I was an editor most recently. So I have a strong Jewish background, and that has lent itself to writing this book, I think, for the most part. I think that's the strongest background I bring, is just that I grew up both being a journalist and being very involved and a leader in the Jewish community, which I still am a bit of that today.
The gift of a cassette tape bearing her grandfather's stories, told in his own voice, began as a column written for the Atlanta Jewish Times about giving memories a voice. But that was just a start.
I decided at first to write a column, and then I decided later on that it was worth writing something bigger than that, that I felt like there was more to it than just a column. And in the cassette tapes my grandfather left, he said, if there's a writer in the family who would like to do something with this, so be it.
Roni's grandfather's life, beginning in Europe at the turn of the 20th century through the Great Depression and labor union reforms in the United States, is the framework for her work of historical fiction.
So at first I just drove around town listening to the cassette tapes, and I created this column, and then I decided to transcribe the tapes and get into more details and transcribe and organize and research. I went to the archives in Morrow and the National Archives and the Family History Center in Roswell. The Mormons, they keep a lot of records. This was before Ancestry and everything was online, so I did a lot of research. And I found census information. I found family members gave me some pictures of the area, and at that time in Europe, which is where my grandfather is from. And this is loosely based on his life, his adventures. I knew there was something here because I had read so many books that had some of the same elements that I was hearing on these tapes: venture, near-death experiences, trauma, tragedy, conquering adversity. It felt like it was also, don't give up, and it was also, look at all I've done and I'm still surviving, so why can't the rest of us do that? I also thought people could relate to it, and that they would find their own families in the pages of the novel. So I transcribed the tapes, I organized, I researched, I revised and revised and revived and edited, and then I put it out there, and I actually won an award after a bit.
As the creative juices flowed, and as she listened to the comforting sounds of her grandfather's voice, Roni imagined herself talking with her grandparents. This process led to some very emotional writing that she thinks will pull the heartstrings of her readers.
I wanted the readers to get a sense of also hearing the tapes, feeling that they were listening to a tape, feeling like they're having a conversation with their grandfather, with their grandparents. So the story is all based on that. Did I get emotional writing some of the scenes? Yes. Did I want my readers to get emotional about reading some of the scenes? Absolutely. I wanted them to feel the same emotions that I was having. I wanted them to learn something as I was learning about the history of the area at that time. So anything that I can put of myself into the novel, especially the emotions, was what I was trying to get from the readers. So I believe I did that from what I'm hearing from others, and people. I've been asked, "Did you cry?" And I said, "Yes, I cried," and then I wiped my tears away, and then I kept writing, and I wanted that all in there. I wanted the readers to feel the tears on the page if they needed to.
While going through this period of discovery with her grandfather's family history, she learned about her family's struggle immigrating to America, barely escaping the atrocities of the Nazi Holocaust and Nazi Germany in World War II. Not all of her family was as lucky as her grandfather. Her family's lives as European immigrants in a new country, barely understanding the language and culture, inspired some of the themes and events in Hands of Gold.
He left Europe before World War II, so he came to Canada, and then he came to America. He didn't come the normal ways, and he had a lot of trying to get to America where some of his siblings were, and then he got turned around. So, it was frustrating, and then he'd try again. But he did come here before the World War II. But majority of his family, and these stories are very common, even though they sent for the family didn't think that what was going to be going on in Europe, so they were like, no, this will pass. So he had, later on, when he heard that most of his family had died in Auschwitz, he felt there's guilt about that, and there's also he knew he had done his best, but could he have done more? And then there's also a story of survival out of that for another family member in a reunion years later. So there's a lot in this book, that I packed into this book. But he was here, so you get both European history back at the time, and between the wars you get the Holocaust. So there is a bit of Holocaust in it, but it's also Jewish immigrant life and what was like at the time for people who came here from Europe and learning the language. And so there's a bit of Yiddish in the book, and it definitely should feel authentic, like Jewish family life. But it's a different perspective on the Holocaust from those who were here and heard about it from afar.
One of the biggest challenges Roni faced while writing Hands of Gold was writing dialogue about historical events and other cultures.
I did a lot of research, so it was based on fact. It was based on history. I try to be historically accurate and to look up what people were wearing at the time, what was going on at the time, what might have been happening around my grandfather, what was the reaction to what was happening in Europe. So many details, because if I did not have all of that accurate, then the readers would come to me and say, you got this wrong. That really wasn't going on at the time. So I wanted it to be authentic, and I needed to be accurate. But yes, it is a challenge as a journalist to write fiction.
As for the significance of the title, Hands of Gold, Roni Robbins was adamantly tight-lipped and cryptic. With a wink and a smile, she insisted that revealing its meaning without first reading the story would diminish its impact.
So Hands and Gold are both significant. I can't give away the secret in the book about it. It's metaphor, as good writers do. They embed that in their work. So I'm not going to give that part away, but I will say, if you just think about your hands and you think of gold, there's so many things, right? There's the hamsa, is a hand. Some of my hamsas are gold. I have them all over my house. There's the golden years, which is in the book, that experience of growing old together. There's the Golden Medina, which was the land of opportunity, which was for European Jews, it was the America, the land paved with gold. And so there's the hands are how you make your living, right? It's there's so much to be said about hands. I was fascinated by my grandparents' hands. So there's so many. Gold is rich. There's a seeking a wealth or seeking financially is gold. So there are a lot of hidden messages, but not the one that that I chose to write. Why I chose it for the title of the book. I felt like I needed some intrigue, some secrets.
To those who are determined to become published authors, Roni offers words of encouragement.
So my advice to would-be authors would be never give up. Obviously, I'm a example of that. Just keep being persistent. You do not have to go after an agent. You can go directly to a publisher, and you need to market yourself even before your book gets published. You need to have your social media built up. This was some advice that I got from other people. Build your social media. Get involved in writers group. Learn from other writers. Take what you've read and you've enjoyed, and I'm not going to say steal it. Incorporate it into their style, whatever you like about their style. Incorporate it into your own writing, and hopefully that will serve you well. But I think we learn from each other.
Learning to market yourself is difficult, but with enough time and effort, rewards will follow.
It's not easy. It is not easy. Just you got to keep plugging away at it, and you appear at a Hanukkah bazaar, and you go to, you may have to drive and get people to read your book and promote. And eventually the word will get out and people will take notice. And I would say apply to awards, but not, be very careful about the awards, because everyone wants to make money off of authors. Don't worry about everyone who's going to, say you can't do it. Do not second guess yourself. You've got this. You can do it. If you're a decent writer, just don't give up.